Tony Perkins is the president of the Family Research Council. Tony, nice to have you on. You heard the president right there. You're speaking at the top of the hour. Give me a little preview of what you'll be saying at 3 o'clock Eastern.
Well, I'm actually joining a large group of pastors from various ethnic and denominational backgrounds who have come to Washington, who are saying that, look, the president has gone one bridge too far. A lot of these African American pastors saying, look, marriage is very clearly described in the Bible. The president has basically drawn a line in the sand and said, hey, are you going to cross it? And these pastors are going to cross it. I can tell you this, based on the polling data, and when you see 32 states that have voted to defend traditional marriage, none voting to redefine it, voters are not going to follow the president down the same-sex marriage aisle. In fact, I don't think they're going to hold their peace. I think they're going to start speaking out. The president is doing too much in trying to redefine our culture by redefining marriage.
Well, Tony, I know you point to those polls. I do want to show you another poll as well. This is when it comes to opposition of same-sex marriage. It's actually, if you see the numbers, I don't know if you have a monitor there on the Hill, it's a new low here. This is a Washington Post ABC News poll. So you say, the question is, should same-sex marriage be legal or illegal? The majority there, 53%, say legal. Most people in the country don't agree with you.
Well, it's on how you ask the question. You look at the various polls out there, and the real poll that matters is when the voters vote on whether or not marriage should be defined as a union of a man and a woman. And again, 30 states have enshrined that definition into their constitution with an average vote of 67%. It's not a close issue when it gets to the states.
Let's then move away from numbers, and I just want to play a little sound. This is from Secretary of State Colin Powell, Republican, spoke with Wolf Blitzer on CNN here. Take a listen to what he said. They talked about this marriage equality.
In terms of the legal matter of creating a contract between two people that's called marriage and allowing them to live together with the protection of law, it seems to me is the way we should be moving in this country. And so I support the president's decision.
This is a man, you know the history as well as I do, in the 90s, led the adoption of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Now he's saying no problem with gay marriage. My question to you, Tony Perkins, why are Colin Powell and Dick Cheney, why are they wrong?
Well, I think if it were to stop at, say, the marriage altar, just two people who loved each other, and I think if that were all that we were talking about here, more Americans might agree with Colin Powell. But what we're talking about here is the curriculum in our public schools and what our children are going to be taught. We're already seeing that happening. We're seeing the issue of religious liberty, a clear conflict and in a contradiction with what many people believe.
But why are we talking about, forgive me for interrupting, why are we talking about curriculum in the school when really this is just about, love and the law and the ability to get married or not and having those rights recognized?
We've already seen in places such as Massachusetts that's legalized same-sex marriage. All of a sudden in the elementary schools it's taught that homosexual relationships are the same as heterosexual, and parents are not able to opt their children out of that teaching. We've seen religious institutions that have lost their tax exemption because they refuse to allow their facilities to be used for same-sex unions. So this is much more than just whether or not two people love each other.
Of course.
This is about
it's
who
about
we are
rights.
as a nation.
I understand.
It's about religious freedom. It's about parental rights. It's about public accommodation. There's a lot more here than just two people who might have an affinity for one another.
You bring up Massachusetts, and we all know Massachusetts, it was the first state to legalize same-sex marriage. That was back in 2004, and the divorce rate actually in that state has only fallen since then.
Well, absolutely. And what you're also seeing is the marriage rates are falling. Because as we, in our public policy, devalue marriage, which we began really in 1969 with no-fault divorce, we've devalued the institution. And of course, we have 40 years now of social science research that says this public policy change was a disaster. This could very well be the death knell of marriage. And of course, the real losers here are children. We've found that children who grow up with a mom and a dad are much better economically, they're better emotionally, they're better in their educational pursuits. So why would we adopt policy that would move us away from the gold standard? We need to promote that which is good for our children and society as a whole, not just one or two people here and there.
Would you rather have children than grow up without parents? And also, how is a same-sex relationship, how is that less valued?
Well, Brooke, I mean, that's a good question. It's not just the issue of two caregivers. If it were just two caregivers, three would be even better. It's an issue of a mom and a dad and the fundamental role. And this is not political hyperbole. This is the social science that shows that children need the developmental aspects of both a mom and a dad. And now, while we don't get to that in every situation, we should strive for that, and our policy should undergird that and promote it. This moves us away from that. And so that's why you see pastors from different ethnic backgrounds, denominational backgrounds saying, we're not going to be silent on this issue.
Not all, but some, and everyone has the right to opine. But my question is, I guess more on a personal level to you, have you ever been to the home of a married same-sex couple, Tony?
I have not been to the home of a same-sex married couple, no.
If you were ever to do so, and you're sitting across from them over dinner, how would you convince them that their life together, either to men, to women, hurts straight couples? What do you tell them?
Well, first, Brooke, we don't make public policy based on what's good for me and my family or you and your family.
I'm just asking on a personal level. I'm just at personal level.
We're engaged here in a discussion about public policy and what's best for the nation, not anecdotes or what one couple likes or.
But this issue is personal. It is personal as well.
But that's not how we make public policy. Certainly, there are some same-sex couples that are probably great parents. But that's not what the overwhelming amount of social science shows us. And we've got some great single moms that are doing a great job, and we applaud them and encourage them. But we still know the best environment for a child is with a mom and a dad.
But shouldn't public policy, in part, be dictated by evolving cultures, evolving demographics? Reflecting that.
But we're not evolving to a better standard when we look at children growing up without those critical role models. And again, we've got 40 years of public policy, or the research that's come from the public policy that shows that we've not been moving in a better direction by moving away from that standard of marriage being at the center of the family, of a mom and a dad. We've actually incurred tremendous cost as a society, both emotionally and financially.
I know you don't want to answer the personal questions, but I'm going to try again, Tony. I'm going to try again, and this is really just it for me today. Why you've never been to a home of a same-sex couple? Why do homosexuals bother you so much? I mean, would it be fair to characterize?
They don't bother me.
They don't bother you.
No.
Not at all.
I'm not going to be silent while they try to redefine marriage in this country, change policy, what my children are taught in schools, and what religious organizations can do. I'm not going to be silent, nor are millions of other Christians across this country. It doesn't mean that we have a dislike.
But if they don't bother you, then why shouldn't they have the same right to get married?
They don't have a right to redefine marriage for the rest of us. They don't have a right to take away my religious freedom. They don't have a right to step between me and what my child is taught. That's what's happening. That's why people are getting involved. And that's why this issue will not be resolved, whether the president says it should be or not. There are many, many Americans, as we've seen in every time this has gone to the ballot box, Americans understand. The definition of a marriage is what it's been for 5,000 years. It's the union of a man and a woman.
Tony Perkins, president of Family Research Council. We'll look for you at the top of the hour there on Capitol Hill with this group, preaching what you just explained to us. Tony, thanks.